Episode 2, man. Spoiler review. How's it going, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Or welcome to the channel for the first time. If you're finding it and you're like, hey, I'm looking for Last of Us. I'm a big The Last of Us fan, whether it's the video game, you just caught on from the show, whatever it is. I'm covering it week by week, doing spoiler reviews, doing immediate reactions. So if you're looking for that and you're brand new to the channel, do me a favor and subscribe. Be a part of it. Be a part every week. Get part of the conversation. That's what we're doing over here. So, and if you're brand new, thank you. I appreciate you. If you're not brand new and you've been a part of this before or recently or for a while, whatever, make sure you comment and hit that like button because we're going to do some fun stuff. We're almost at 70,000. We need you guys. All right, let's get into this thing, man. This is episode 2 of The Last of Us. And so to let people know, by the way, what I've been doing on The Last of Us, I said this on my immediate reaction. I had never played the game before. I mean, obviously, I was living under a rock. I heard of the game and know how beloved it is, and people have been telling me for years that I needed to play it. And I was like, okay. And once the trailer came out for the series, I said, I think I'm going to wait because I don't want to get spoiled on stuff. And what I did was watch the first episode, realized I loved the show. It heard all the great praise from all the players of the game who said how true of an adaptation it was, and that meant a lot. So I said, you know what I'm gonna do? And the stupid thing is that I had the remastered Last of Us game sitting on my shelf for God knows how long, and I said eventually I'm gonna get to it. So I got to it, and what I'm gonna do now is after every episode in the week leading up to the next episode, I'm gonna play the game until I catch up to the point where I'm not gonna get spoiled. So for the example of what I did after I watched episode 1, I got right to the part where Tess and Ellie and Joel get out of the city, and they're on their way to, I guess, some of the events that happen in this episode, maybe not. I know that the creators and even the creators of the game took a liberty and kind of changed some things around, and even the way that the virus itself kind of maneuvers. What I will say is this. I understand way more now after episode 2 of this, not even the game, episode 2 of this. The argument when people start to say these are not zombies, I'm going to really be one of those people now. And maybe I misunderstood. But this is what I got from this episode for sure. And even when you go back and you watch the first episode, and correct me if I'm wrong in the comments, I'm asking you to for sure, because I want to make, I'm learning week by week. But the understanding that I got, especially the conversation that Joel has with Ellie in this one, is that you're alive still while this thing's in you. It's keeping you alive. You're a mess, but you're alive, and then it'll kill you off, and then that's it, and then it just, it'll communicate through other things, but it's keeping the body alive to maneuver for however long it can. So by the definition, it is not a zombie. And even like the clickers, when they're around, they're alive. I mean, clearly that's when they get shot and killed, they're dead. But it's keeping them alive. And it said that Joel says at one point, I guess some of these things have been around for like the last 20 years, living through this thing, and it keeps the body alive somehow. So by definition, not a zombie. Now, I could be wrong, but that's what I got out of a lot of this. So I am going to be one of those people in the comment section like you guys going, hey, wait a minute, stop calling them zombies, because they're not zombies. And that's why there is indeed potential for a cure. That's why it makes more sense that there could be a cure, at least to me. That's why Ellie is so important to all this, because I don't know if she's going to be able to cure those clickers. I mean, you got to fix your head. But anyway, tons going on in this episode. Tons. So what I really love, though, is that the start, right? What they've done in the last 2 episodes is take you back before all this shit went down, or as it was going down, and showing what the world was and what it is. But it's not like it's different in the passage. It's showing you more so of how unbeatable they think this thing is in general, and how unlikely they thought it was, and then ultimately what happens. And like, I love this opening in Indonesia when you have the cops are coming in and they're like, we need to find this fucking scientist, man. Where is she? And they're like, yeah, she's over there. She's listen, I wouldn't bother her though. We tried to tried to interrupt her while she was drinking her tea, and she kicked Louie in the nuts and told Fred to fuck off. But they go anyway, and they grab her, and she's like, "What did I do? I didn't do anything." I'm like, no. She's like, "I think you got the wrong person." I'm like, no. We didn't get the wrong person. You need help. And I love this opening. This is like an 11-minute opening, by the way. Didn't mind it one bit. Loved it because of the detail that went into it. And she's walking through, and this scene here. It's little things that this show does already in 2 episodes that I'm like, oh, I love the direction of this show. I love the way this show is shot. But this particular scene, there's something that happens here. It's so little. It's such a little thing. But God, I loved it. And right before, she's walking through the hallway, and these fuckers are flying down. They're like, we need to figure this out right now. We need you to look at this thing. And as they're walking through the hall, she's trying to catch up, and she does that thing we've all done in all the way where she kind of like jump steps and tries to move a little faster because they're moving. And it shows you just that particular little motion, how dire the situation is. And they're like, we don't have any time to spare right now. Move. And she's like, wow, they're like flying through. And I love that little detail that they put. It's so little, and you could miss it if you look down for a second, because she's just like moving to catch up with these guys. And it's like, it is serious. They go to the disease center, and then they're like, here, check this out. And again, a little bit of the detail. You have the woman who's about to tell her, well, this is what we have determined so far. It's like, no. I wanted her to tell us what she sees and how she, let her determine this for herself. Don't give her anything else. Loved that. And then that goes to, wait a minute, hold on a second. Ovisorvidorceps. No way I'm going to say it, but we'll pretend that I did. And she's like, wait, this can't live in humans. What are you talking about? I was like, man, you might want to come to the basement. And she gets to the basement, and I can't show all that. So here's this poor lady. What a terrible, I shouldn't say terrible, but what a tough job for the actress laying on the table, unless that was a model. And they built it out, because who knows with this show, very well could have. But if that was an actress, hey, you earned your day. You earned your day's keep. To sit there with your mouth open, your business hanging out, going, hey, I got stuff in my face. Figure it out. Get it out of there. And just stay there the whole time. I don't know. Maybe it was a model, or they built it out. But either way, doesn't look like it. I think it was an actress who did a really good job. Tough job. But right there, the scientist is like, this is bad news. You guys told me this thing was living in humans, and you weren't lying. Get me the fuck out of here. And the breakdown of how it all went down, and the idea of, well, this is what happened. You did this, and it's like, it's just so subtle. It's like, oh, they never start freaking out. No. It was like, no. She got bit. She attacked. They had to shoot her in the head. And it's the same thing going back to, by the way, what I said in the opening of this, because the whole time that this was going down, I said when she stuck her fingers in the deceased mouth, I said to my wife, I'm like, oh, she's gonna chew her fingers off. But she got shot in the head. She was dead. Hence no zombie. They already took her out. You can't. They're not. If the virus isn't keeping her alive anymore because she's dead. So that's my understanding of it. If I ever get a chance to interview any of the damn people from the show or creators or anything, I'm gonna ask them that, and I might not even have to. I feel like there's going to be enough people who watch the show who are diehard fans of it, or the game in general. They're going to tell me I'm either right or wrong. I feel like I'm right on this. And either way, scientist gets this whole breakdown. She's like, she knows at this point. She's breaking this again. The acting and the directing. This just shows you what good writing and good directing, and obviously great acting can do for a scene if you just put the detail into it. How important like a series can be, and it's positive. It's optimistic that you can take the games and comics and books and stuff and do stuff like this, but it's also a bummer when you think about all the past ones that could have done this, like this type of stuff, and the studio people or the suits, if you will, and I'm going to tell you, there's also a lot of suits that did good, hence why we have this show. But there's a lot of people who go, nah, change it up, do this. You don't need to do that. It's a video game thing. You don't got to take it too seriously. I've been in the rooms with people saying shit like that. And the reason I bring that up is because this particular scene, when she's there and he goes, well, what do we do next? Now, instead of she doesn't just, if you watch this scene and you go back, she doesn't just blurt out, bomb them, kill them. She thinks, you can see it in her face. Like, I know what I'm going to say now, and I know what I'm about to say now, and it is not going to be easy, but it is the only answer out of all the years that I've done studying these things and everything that I've done. This is the answer. You got to kill everybody because it's not going to work out. The guy's like, what about a vaccine? We need you for a vaccine. He's like, no vaccine. It's the same thing that dude said in the opening for last time. There's no vaccine. And it all leads, I think, to why Ellie is so important, leading up to this whole entire episode. But this 11-minute scene, or opening, rather, sets up so much, and the idea of it all, and it also kind of blends into that they maybe not necessarily, maybe this government listened to her, but the government over here certainly did that, because you see that and they talk about it in Boston. There's like these big craters when they bombed, and they said it was effective, and I think they said in some cities it didn't work, but in this one it did. Detail, man. It's all about the detail. And what a great opening this was. Amazing. And then we really get to the juice of the story and our main characters, and Ellie is just laying out there on this patch of grass, sleeping on her backpack, and she wakes up to these two characters just sitting there because they don't know. They don't understand yet what's going on. We're still, they in the game, by the way, and from where I am, you break out of the city and you don't just show up to this thing. You got to fight through like soldiers and stuff. They're coming after you, and you got to battle your way out. And that's where I am. And I stopped because I didn't know if that was a scene in the TV show, and it certainly isn't. It just opens with them having this conversation with her, and she won't, they're like, well, what's going on? Tell us about all of this. Now she goes and she's go to the bathroom, she relieves herself, and they have this whole conversation, and this relationship between Tess and Joel is fantastic. I mean, it is, because you can see how hardened Joel is, and what he lost a big piece of himself, a massive piece of himself, when he lost his daughter 20 years ago. And it's still there, and he's this kind of hardened dude, but it pops out, right? Like who he really is, it pops out. It's popped out a few different times. It popped out, the instincts that popped out when he saw his daughter, and he kills the cop because the cop's about to kill Ellie, but he does it a few different times, and we'll cover it in a second here. But he does it here, but he's like, it's there, and Tess kind of knows it's there, but and I love that they embrace. And she says to Ellie, Tess says it, she's like, we're not good people, so you better tell us what's going on, because we don't give a shit. And so you gotta, and she's not telling the truth either, because there's something about, and I love that you learned that about Tess too, by the way. She has that hope. She's got that idea, and it's ultimately what happens at the very end. But like she's able to pass it off to Joel, who's Joel is hardened by it, doesn't believe in it anymore, thinks it's all horseshit. But when she finds out that Marlene has basically found someone who could potentially be the cure, her whole reasoning changes. Everything from the smuggling this kid, it's changed. And the idea of of what it is, because they have this whole thing about the engine and all that is it's their driving force. But once Tess finds out like what it's about, her directive changes. It doesn't for Joel, but it changes for her, and I love that. And you got that because when Tess comes over and she's telling, and I love this sandwich bit, by the way. The sandwich bit was great. Like she has these full sandwiches, and even uses it later. She's like, I guess I'll throw a sandwich at him, and Joel says it later. You got anything else? You got a flashlight in there? You just have sandwiches. I love the sandwich bit. Smuggle the chicken in, smuggle everything else in, and it gives you this, again, detail about what's available in the world, what it still is, because there's still societies, right? There's still these pockets, and there's still like the cities are still set up. Granted, not the way that they once were, but they're still set up. And when you get outside, it's crazy because it's probably fair actually to say, if you start to go into post-apocalyptic shows, or whether it's Walking Dead or anything, you ultimately have an idea and design of what these worlds look like. So they have to make it different and they do that, I think. And even this, again, from the setup of the idea of, what it is. Like a lot of times and there's no right or wrong for it, but a lot of times in like zombie shows, or post-apocalyptic shows, sometimes you don't really even know why the infection started or how it is, and it's really not the point of it. This is the point of it. It's like this infection is this fungus, and it's taken over the whole damn world. The way that it looks, the things that it's doing, the way it communicates, it's fascinating, really. Like the blend of science and everything too. It's not just a horror show or and again, nothing wrong with that. If that's what you dig, I like the more detailed kind of scary science behind it, and that's what this show's been doing so far. And I think it's why it's been so effective. But you have this whole scene with them when she's eating the sandwiches. And then they go outside and you see the world. We get a chance to see it because they even say it looks a lot different during the day, doesn't it? And you like just everything, and not even just the fungus that's taken over the world, but just the world's not being run by humans anymore. It's being run by nature, and it's being overtaken. And whether it was the bombs that kind of set this world in motion, and you get a design more so as they're walking around, like what the world looks like. And there's the craters from the bombing, and they have that conversation, how it works sometimes it didn't. And it's shots like this, by the way, that I really love, because there's a couple of times that I'm like, okay, they're really paying homage to the game, and I don't necessarily know if this is a shot from the game, but it just feels like it is, right? Like this is the kind of stuff you would see in the game, and the way that it plays in the game, and staying true, but yet still being its own thing. And Joel kind of taken from the back and understanding that he's always watching, he's always kind of, but he's by himself. He's in his own head, and this is great conversation about this is where Tess starts to form this bond with Ellie, right? Like wondering how she got bit in the first place, and Ellie's not telling the the whole story, I should say, about who she was with or why she was there or those types of things. But she talks. We learn a little bit about Ellie inside of this, which I liked. It was she's an orphan. And we also find out throughout little bits of conversation, she's well schooled. She understands things. She knows the geography of the land and all those types of things. But she's walking through here, and we learn how she got bit. And Tess gives her respect. She gets some balls, kid, and doesn't call her stupid. Doesn't anything else. You get a set of balls, and you see the bond. Like there's this little smile of Ellie going, "Thanks a lot. It means a lot." And when they head into the big hotel, I also like the other thing that they're really doing here is they're not taking away the fact that Ellie is a 14-year-old girl. She's a child. And she's cool. She's cool. She's sassy. She got attitude. She can survive. She's tough. But she's a kid. And she goes over to the bell thing, and she starts slamming on the thing. And then she gets freaked out when the skeleton pops up out of the water. And she's like, she's a kid, but she takes that breath again, right? She takes that breath, and she's like, all right, chill. I'm sorry. I know. I gotta relax. I know. And this is that moment I was telling you about that you get a few with Joel. Joel walks over, and his instinct is to help the kid out, help her out, gives her a hand, and then he freaks out because he's like, oh shit, she's infected. My fatherly instincts were like to help her out, and I'm like, ugh. But then they're moving through. And this is, again, another shot, I believe, that's very video game-esque. But I love these shots, like this little shots like this, what the directors are doing for this show. And the idea of it, looking down, Tess got to go out and find her way out and it gives us a chance to really set up this relationship between Ellie and Joel, which has been, if you're in this space of pop culture and covering movies and TVs and games and all this stuff, everybody has heard of the father-daughter relationship between Joel and Ellie. It's like it's one of the big stories of Last of Us, and they had this conversation. You learn a little bit more, and you learned about the education of Ellie, but you also learn that Joel's given up a little bit, but then he realizes when he gives up too much information, he shuts it down. And then Tess comes back, and they have this whole thing. And this is where we learn, and I think that this is where they changed, at least when I watched the thing at the very end of the show, the creators of the game and the creators of the TV show were talking about how they added some stuff to it in the way that, like, the fungus can communicate. And you see all of these bodies kind of moving around, and they're talking, and then Tess explains it. Like, this is how it works. You can't, they're going to communicate. If you one little step, it can set off people, and it ultimately is a foreshadow for what happens at the very end. But it's this whole thing. But it's not only a foreshadow. It really gives us the information of, oh, this is what these people in the world are dealing with, and why we're dealing with it in general. So, and then it also sets up. Let's go through the museum, and then this is this kind of scariest part of the series thus far in the 2 episodes, I think, anyway. And my wife and I were like on the edge of our seats watching this thing. It was set up and done so well. They walk in, and Joel is checking for, like, the communication side of it, and it's like, hey, we should be safe. Let's go in. That's when that sandwich bit comes in too. But the darkness inside of it, obviously there's no electricity in there. They're walking through. People's got half a heads. This poor bastard's just sitting there with half a head Harry. And then they find this guy, obviously not too long ago that he got ripped to shreds. But Ellie's like, what the fuck did this? What is that? And then Tess and Joel know, like, right away. Oh, no. Now, video game fans, I assume, and you guys, again, tell me in the comments, are going, oh, shit, it's the clickers. Oh, shit. Because that's what, I mean, after seeing them and after watching the thing of the way that, I mean, I absolutely loved this scene in general, and I also loved listening to the creators of the game and the show talking about them because of, the detail, man. But this, shut up. Don't say a word. Now, I'm not talking about being quiet. I'm talking about silence. We say nothing. Like, that alone sets up the threat of what these things are. Like, the other ones is like, okay, we can shoot them. They come by, we pop a few of them in the head. Fine. Just be careful. Not these things. Shush. Say nothing. And then the eeriness of walking through and, like, the flashlights going off. And I feel, again, that this could be a video game segment. I assume it, because even in the game, playing it for the first time, you have that flashlight and you click it open. And the way that this is shot, I feel like this is something right out of the game. And again, you guys can tell me. But these clickers were terrifying. And they were, like, a lot of times some of them can be, like, whether it's zombies or whatever it might be, after a while, like, yeah, you know, it's like, what are they going to do? After a while, even in The Walking Dead, for the first, the walkers were pretty terrifying, but after a while, like, yeah, they're just going to shoot them or hit them with something. These things this thing shows up, and it reminded me of, what the hell was it called? Oh my God, it was, what's the Danny Boyle one? Shit, you know, Danny Boyle directed. You know what I'm talking about, with Cillian Murphy, right? Right? I don't know. Maybe I don't remember. You guys know what I'm talking about. Anyway, it reminded me of that, the way these things move. It moves like a chicken. It sounds terrifying. And I love the idea that it doesn't just, I mean, it's agile. It doesn't know where everything is, though. Like, it moves on sound. It moves on, you know, if it's in the way, it can catch you. But, like, I love how they did this. And then, again, you know shit's going to go down. And finally, this shot that you see from the trailer. And I know now, obviously, why they put this in the trailer, because they wanted to show the fans of the game, like, yeah, don't worry, clickers are in it, and they're going to be pretty terrifying. And they were. Because this whole scene, it goes on for a bit, and Ellie's running around. They're trying to save Ellie, to getting the hell out of town. And I love that, by the way, where Tess says, I don't care how immune you are, that you can still get ripped to pieces. Love that line. It's like, yeah, you're not immune from death. You're immune from the disease. So we got to keep you alive. And so they're running through, and all of this, because this goes on for a bit, and it keeps you, and it's not too long, like, long enough to where it and then it's funny because Ellie gets bit again, and I said, "She got bit again." She's like, "Nah, I don't think so." I was like, "She got bit again. I'm telling you." Like, and then, but Joel does it again. Joel, watch this scene again, and maybe you picked up the first time, maybe you didn't, but watch the scene. Joel pulls the thing off of her again. The instinct. He pulls it off of her, and he starts, and he winds up killing it, taking it out, and then Tess whacks one of them in the head with an axe. But that's shot afterwards, though. If you go back and you watch it after you know what goes down, the look on Tess's face right there, she knows. She knows shit's going. She knows it's over for her. So she starts to. I just got to get this kid to the doctors in Boston, and we just got to end the mission here. This is it. If I'm going to go out, I'm going to do it. I'm going to get this kid to her destination. So when you go back and you watch this scene, it even carries more weight, which I loved about it. And again, these shots that they have of the looking out, where like, okay, we're going to get you to your destination. We're going to get you there. They move it down. Tess now is just determined. She knows it's over, but she's going to move. And they're walking through, and they get to this scene here, and you're like, okay, well, they're going to drop her off, and everything's going to be okay, right? Wrong. Joel's checking it out. You know, shit's going down. They walk into this church or this whatever, the building, and they're all toast. You don't know what the hell happened. They said, well, who killed him? It's like, Joel figures it out fast. Well, one of them got infected. They tried to fight it off, and they lost. And Tess is like, no, this can't be. It's got to stay. And then when Ellie says she's infected, it happened. And she's like, yeah, it's true. And there's that whole conversation where Joel's like, well, then I'm done. We're going to take her back to the thing in a mouse. She's like, you can't. You got to take him. They're not going to accept her. You got to take her somewhere, and you got to figure out, save who you can. That alone, save who you can. And you're like, oh, man. This is it. This is the setup. The only thing that I will say, I wish that IMDb, I think I would have guessed anyway that, because I kind of did, that Tess wasn't going to make it because of, like I said before, Joel and Ellie are the ones that are always talked about, and I had never really heard about Tess until the show started, and I started hearing conversations about how like she's in the beginning, and then she's gone, and you understand why. She's kind of the setup for the whole for them being together. But like, I wish that they would have done what House of the Dragon did. If you go to IMDb for House of the Dragon, because when I was looking up names for actors and actresses last week, and I'm not going to do this anymore, so I'm just going to, if I don't get all the names right, tough shit, because I don't want to be spoiled anymore, because they are not doing what House of the Dragon did. House of the Dragon listed every single person for all of the episodes. It made you believe that they were going to be in every episode. So if they died, you're like, oh shit. This actress is listed in 3 episodes, or 4, or 2 or 3, whatever it is, maybe even 4, maybe they do flashback scenes, I don't know, whatever it is, but they list it in there, and you're like, ow. So you kind of guess. I didn't know she was going to go out this episode. I thought maybe she'd go out a little later. So maybe they do list her as a more. Maybe she's some flashback scenes. I don't know. It doesn't really matter. It's still pretty effective. She's infected. She gets Joel to listen, and I love this too. By the way, I love this. Ellie shows her that she's still, look, this is legit. This is real. This kid's not. She just got bit. She's fine. Get her the fuck out of here. And then this scene, and again from the setup from beforehand, Joel has to pop this dude. The fungus is like, okay, asshole, you want to shoot one of our boys? Now we're going to bring everybody. And Tess is like, well, fine. If everybody's coming, I'm just going to dump all the gas and grenades on the floor, so get out of here. Leave. And this scene, this shot here, it shows you how attached to, it shows you, first of all, that as cool and as Ellie is, and kind of hardened that she is, and sassy as she is, she's not only just a kid, but she can draw these attachments, and she drew this attachment to Tess, and she's like, don't leave her, and Joel's like, let's go. And then this scene, I love it, and again, it tells you so much about the infected. They're just running through, and they kind of like, they don't know what the hell they're even running after. They're just kind of being controlled by this shit. And then this creepy dude comes by and does notice, with his little antlers sticking out of his head. And he's like, look, we're going to go. And Tess is like, all right, I'm going to get a little action before I take off. But I'm going to blow your ass up. So bad first date for you, fucko. Blows him up. They're all gone. And this shot's fantastic. Joel sees it, wants to see if there's anybody else coming out. Ellie realizes that Tess is gone. So does Joel. Great ending shot of just Ellie kind of standing there by herself, and we're out. It was powerful, real powerful. And I'll tell you, it's funny because I don't know if you're first time watching me on this episode, then you're like, I don't know I don't know any of this story. But I've told this story that my wife is, when it comes to shows, sometimes she sticks around, sometimes she bails on stuff. And if it's a show I really like, if it's a show I don't really care about, I usually bail on it too. I'm like, well, that would have been fun to finish, but whatever. This is one of the shows. She might bail on this one. Not because she doesn't like it. because she gets creeped out by shit pretty quick. And when that dude was sticking the spores in Tess's mouth, she's like, she's like, that doesn't bother you? Like, I've seen enough of this shit that it's not pleasant. And it did its job. But yeah, I don't know. We'll see. She hasn't decided if she's bailing or not, but I'm not bailing. I love this show, man. This show is fantastic. Really good. Great episode. And this episode ultimately gave us what the show is about. But anyway, that was my breakdown. That was my spoiler review of it. What did you think? Did you like the episode? Did you not like the episode? Go ahead and comment. Help me out. I try to aim for 1,000 comments, 1,000 likes each and every time. And it would help tremendously. Thank you guys so much. I put an old stand-up bit, by the way. Stand-up, this is from, I'm going to be doing stand-up again on February 13th with Brett at Flappers Comedy Club in Burbank. But I have one from last year, but I also just put one up from years ago, and I'll put it in the videos at the end of this. If you want to check it out, leave a comment that you heard about it. Cool. Let me know. All right, everybody. Thank you so much. Really appreciate you. Once again, subscribe to the channel. We'll see you on the flip side. Peace.